What's going on, everybody? This is Seth from Engage Podcast. Hope you're doing great. Uh, when I say that the episode you're about to hear is a powerful one, where we read a Soren Kierkegaard quote, and if you know anything about Soren Kierkegaard, his quotes are very, very deep, get you thinking. So sit back, relax, open your mind, and engage with us as we dive into today's episode.
Friends, today's quote is from Søren Kierkegaard, and he says, "The most painful state of being is remembering the future, particularly the one you'll never have." Now, for those of you wondering who this guy is that we're talking about, Søren Kierkegaard, he was Danish. He was a Danish philosopher. He was a theologian, a poet. He was a social critic and a religious author who is widely considered to be the first existentialist philosopher. All right, Seth, what do you think?
It's deep. It's very deep. I like it a lot. Like most Soren Kierkegaard quotes, it makes you think. The most painful state of being is remembering the future, the one that you'll never have. First thing that comes to my mind is, whether it's right or wrong, it's just the first thing that comes to mind is people when they're going through a midlife crisis, both men and women. But we've all seen or even experienced that time where you've looked in your life and you're looking at things you either didn't get to do or you missed out on doing. So you either go buy that sports car or you start dressing a different way. You're trying to relive a future that you never actually lived, and it's a very painful state. People who tend to be in that the midlife crisis, they're very unhappy.
Hmm.
I mean, am I the only one who has seen that? Have you seen that? Do you know those kinds of people?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know anyone firsthand that has actually done this, and I'm sure I have. I may not be paying attention. What I mean is like my closest of maybe friends and family, but I know this is true. This quote reminds me so much of the first part about the future state. You know, that vision you have when you're growing up. It reminds me. It takes me back to college, where the kids that I went to school with had such a large vision for what their life was going to look like. It just was something that was oozing out of everybody. People were going to change the world. And, through Facebook now, it's easy to stay in touch, and I'm in touch with all those people. And by the way, I'm not speaking negatively about anyone. It's just that was the perfect petri dish for people who wanted to have that vision for their life, like the world was their oyster. And you see that a lot of times, that didn't happen with those people. And, whether that's true for them where they feel painful, like this quote says, or not, I don't know. I'm not going to jump in there and ask them because I don't know them that well. We sort of are acquaintances through the years.
One of the things that just also came in my head now is just people, not even people who have lived a life and they're unhappy with what they're living. It's they're living life chasing something and they don't have it yet either. Like kind of what you were talking about, the college student, but even going further with like just a person in general who lives every day. Like I'm just going to use an example, like someone who wants to have that six-figure job, whatever it is, and they live every day trying to chase after it. And they're almost like they're not happy. They're not living in the moment because they're trying to chase after something rather than just being here in the now. I know it's cliched to tell people live for today, but because I mean, I personally have had moments where I've lived for a dream job. I've lived every single day chasing after X, Y, and Z, and after a time, it gets tiring when you're not getting it, and it's a very painful state of mind to be living for a life or for something that you don't currently have, and even to come to grips with the fact that you're never going to have it. To me personally, I think the big problem is if you look at something in the future, if you come to grips with the fact that you're never going to have it, that's never going to happen for you. If that puts you in a deep state of depression, then to me, my biggest piece of advice, and this is something again I've personally have struggled with too, is that you're putting way too much spiritual weight into that idea, into that thing. And biblically speaking, that has become an idol of yours. You're looking at that and you're saying, if I lived that lifestyle, if I had that thing, if I had whatever that thing is, if I had that, that would make me a person. That would make me who I was created to be. That would make me truly me. And the real answer to that is that no, God is the one that makes us us. God is the one who, God is all that we really need. And it's hard for us, especially in us Americans who are living in a very materialistic world, to really come to grips with that. It's something that I have a hard time, really remembering too, that God is all that I really need. Am I making any sense?
Yeah, it is. I'm just thinking like the balancing of that is like that's the pendulum that you just said versus having goals and being ambitious. It's like I think there has to be some kind of balance because there has to be some kind of forward thinking, planning, visioning. So I guess my point is it's not an easy thing. It's kind of complex. Even in the Bible, in Ecclesiastes chapter 9, the author is painting a vision of a future life. He says, "Go then, eat your bread in happiness, drink your wine with a cheerful heart, for God has already approved your works. Let your clothes be white all the time, let not oil be lacking on your head. Enjoy the life with the woman whom you love all the days of your life. Whatever your hand finds to do, do it with all your might, for there is no activity or planning or wisdom in Sheol where you are going." He's referencing Sheol as the grave. And, here he has this vision for this person, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it was his vision. I don't know. But going back to the college thing, this person, the world is their oyster. He's got this vision of the white picket fence, the nice house, the dog, the pretty wife, the kids, the nice job. That's the vision, right? But the quote is so powerful because it says the most painful state of being is remembering the future, particularly the one you'll never have. It's like walking into a house and having a picture that is supposed to be hung straight, but it's always a little to the side. And no one else can see it except you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's always bothering you,
Mm-hmm.
right? So,
Mm-hmm.
you go up and you kind of just continually correct it, but it keeps falling out of place. So I think that's called man's search for homeostasis. I think that's what it's called. Don't quote me. I think that's right. And I guess, what are you going to do? We should be born with something like that to want to go out and do something. But there should be a Christian response to this. What do you think it is?
Well, again, it's twofold. The easy answer is to understand and realize that the Bible is very consistent. If you go through the book of Proverbs, in fact, I actually would highly recommend you do this. Is just go through the book of Proverbs in your Bible and just take a highlighter and any verse in Proverbs that either hints at or talks about being content, being happy with what you have, highlight it. Then after you're done, go back and start flipping through. You'll see how many highlighted verses you're doing. But not even in Proverbs, in passages or books like Ecclesiastes and books like Philippians, Paul talks about being content. And the Bible is very clear that the reason why we should be content is because God has given us everything that we have on purpose, right? He's given us the life that we have, the path that we are on, and whether or not we understand it, that path is leading us to something, and he's putting us on that path to do what he's created us to do. And for us to look at another path and say that's the one I should be on, is to look at God and say you don't know what you're doing. And that's just, I mean, God is simply saying, he's constantly telling us, look, I know what's best. I created you. I know what you are here for. Just like when an author writes a book, they know what each character is supposed to do. So that's the second one is going back, and you talked about that balance. And this is a hard balance to find, but it's the balance, and that is to not make good things into ultimate things. I think Tim Keller, I'm trying to think what one of his books he talks about the biggest test in seeing if a good thing has become an ultimate thing is when you don't get that good thing or it fails you. So if you are going for a job and you don't get that promotion, if you're disappointed, that's natural. You're okay. But if it crushes you, if it throws you into, if like the rock in which you're standing on is taken from you, then that meant that you were taking a good thing and making it into an ultimate thing. You were taking a good thing and making it into a God that can never fulfill what your heart truly wants. But, if you're going after that thing and you get it, it's not going to change who you are, because God is the foundation that you're building your life on. I think that is the key. Again, it's easier said than done. And this is something that I on a daily basis have to continue working on, is the littlest things to the biggest things. If it fails, if it goes south, then to use this as an example, you think about Abraham. Abraham wanted a son so bad, so bad. And when it came time for him to sacrifice Isaac, that was a big moment for him. And God doesn't do things, so that he can get more information. I think he does things so that we can get information, so that we can kind of see what the levels are, what the gauges are reading. And that was a way for God to kind of give Abraham a idol check of, has this son replaced me? Has Isaac replaced me as the God over your life? Or, it came down to it where Abraham made the right choice, made the right call by saying, no, God, you are still in control. You are still the rock in which I'm building my life on. Does it make sense?
Yeah, I think it's really good. I'm interested in now. I wonder what the listeners are thinking.
I know.
I wonder if there's anyone out there that could drop us a comment of something that they've experienced, maybe themselves or someone else, or if they could drop a comment on any insights into this quote. I want to read it one more time before we wrap it up, okay?
Go ahead.
He says, "The most painful state of being is remembering the future, particularly the one you'll never have." Deep stuff.
Yeah, let us know what do you guys think. And by the way, down below in the little info box, you can find our website. You can find our link to our SoundCloud page. We're still trying to get this up onto iTunes, so stay tuned for that. But you also will see a link to a donation page too. Listen, if you like what you're hearing and you want to support us, you want to support this church, feel free to give any amount. That's completely up to you, but it's there if you want it. We would greatly appreciate it. Other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you guys for listening, and have a fantastic week. We're praying for you.